Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. Hello, this is DrRosmaini again, and today, this morning, I am going to lecture for Management Information System course on Chapter 10, titling Managing Knowledge, as per stated in the lesson plan. Okay, so let's get it started. So this morning, I'm supposed to achieve few learning objectives. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4 learning objectives that I'm supposed to deliver to you. And the first learning objective is I'm supposed to make you understand what are the role of knowledge management, what are the function of managing knowledge, and how do knowledge management programs can help business to prosper, right? That is the first learning objective. So the second learning objective is that I'm supposed to make you understand there are few types of system or other the other word names KMS, knowledge management system, and how do these KMS system can create value for business so that business can perform more efficiently. And subsequently, I'm supposed to elaborate to you a few major types of knowledge work system, or they call it KWS, and how do KWS can contribute value to the firm so that they can perform more sustainably. And last but not least, I'm supposed to elaborate to you what are the benefits of using intelligent techniques, or nowadays known as AI, artificial intelligence, in the form of data mining, in the form of business data analytic, and also in the other form like BDM, big data management, and how do these AI's technique can contribute towards knowledge management and subsequently make business more profitable and more competitive. Okay, so first let's understand the landscape of knowledge management. Okay, so basically, knowledge management systems are the area in IT or in information system or in this age of internet that is growing fast, right, and significant, which is basically relying upon software and software investment, right, or system investment. Okay, it is stated that our economy nowadays are very much based on information. You name it, server, cloud computing, YouTube, databases, smartphones. Basically, those are based on information and knowledge. So nowadays, the key mover of economy in Malaysia and also in the world is information, right? So it is reported that about 55% of American labor force constitutes of knowledge workers or information workers, be it they are engineers, be it they are software, be it software engineers, or be it they are programmer, or be it they are managers. They are all very much knowledge workers, right? So equally the same in many countries around the world. And it is reported that United States makes 60% of their GDP, which is gross domestic product, their output, their export, basically the growth depend upon knowledge and information sector. Yeah, that is definitely right, because nowadays advanced economy is very much knowledge driven. They produce software, they produce network, they produce system, so they produce server, they produce databases and export to the rest of the world. And I would say the substantial part of companies like Proton, like Xerox, Procter and Gamble, companies like Apple and Mercedes-Benz, their substantial market value is very much related to their knowledge, their brand, and their reputation. If I mention to you companies like, for example, Mercedes, so of course, definitely you will have the image of brands, reputation, and prestige. So those are basically making up, is made up by knowledge, information, and also data. Okay, knowledge management system is basically driven by the sharing of knowledge among employees, and later they transfer their knowledge, expertise, and know-how into a system or into a database or into a procedure or into a document to be shared with the rest of the people of the company and also with business associates. So companies like Xerox or Procter& Gamble, you name it, right? Do you know who is Procter& and Gamble company? All right, so it is basically cosmetic and pharmaceutical companies that produce many goods, right? Maybe P&G name itself is not well noticed, but product like Rejoice shampoo, Head and Shoulder, those are produced by Procter& and Gamble, and now you know. So that company is actually a big company. Xerox, it has been 70 or 80 years in operation, so it is still strong and operating in the publication business or in the photocopying business. Mercedes and Proton are two companies belong to automobile. Okay, due to their knowledge, it is a reflection of the two companies, which is both are doing business in car production, right? So they have a vast difference in terms of knowledge reputation. Okay, if you compare Mercedes, it has been more than 100 years company, right? Proton, it could be around 30 years or so company in terms of age. Okay, due to these two company, I put here as a comparison of knowledge, reputation difference. Back in 1990s, I think, during those time, Proton needed to have foreign partner. So they need to have a foreign investor into Proton Malaysia. So one of the company that showed interest in buying Proton share that time, maybe about 30 years ago, is Mercedes-Benz. So Mercedes-Benz done some survey research and homework on Proton. In the first impression, Mercedes-Benz was quite interested to share technology and production with Proton. However, whether Mercedes wanted to buy shareholding with Proton, of course, Mercedes must do the what they call business due diligence. I mean, study of the company that they want to buy share or to invest. So in the first place, Mercedes think that Proton was a good company to JV or joint venture. After a few months of studying Proton, in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their reputation, in terms of their patents, in terms of their copyright, so Mercedes decided that they withdraw from the plan to joint venture with Proton because Mercedes-Benz top management decided that Proton has very little knowledge in car manufacturing in the form of even limited number of patents or copyrights in the intellectual property office. So that shows the importance of having explicit implicit knowledge in your company, because that is showing your strength or the stability of the operation of your company. So that is all about knowledge. Okay, so of course, in the understanding the landscape of knowledge management, we must understand that there are few dimensions of knowledge. All right, so knowledge can be seen as a asset for a company. All right, knowledge in the form of intangible, for example, know-how, technique, troubleshooting, how to solve problem. Those are basically intangible, and this knowledge is basically hosted in the minds of the employee. like in the minds of managers, in the mind of engineers, in the mind of technician, in the mind of CEO, in the mind of even a lower level employee. So it is basically intangible, in which knowledge cannot be touched, or knowledge cannot be basically physically kept, right? That's why it is called intangible. However, employees, managers need knowledge in order to run the company. So they must create such as a database in order to host or house all the data, information, and knowledge and wisdom into a certain resources. For example, in the form of books, in the form of procedures, in the form of maybe a digital document in the server databases, or basically in the form of document or letters or forms in this physical file like this. So these are basically the creation of knowledge from data information that require organizational resources in the form of like procedure, library, digital server databases, and so on. So after having that creation of those stages, then only knowledge can be shared, and it can be distributed, and it can be basically transferred to other employees for the sake of operating the business in a more efficient manner. So of course, knowledge has different forms, right? So some of them are tangible, like in the form of paper, in the form of procedure that you can print it out and have it read. Or if it is in the form of know-how, skill, maybe it is intangible. You must own it, you must experience it, and those are some of the forms of knowledge. Okay. Knowledge has its own location, right? So knowledge has its place. For example, in the mind of managers and engineers. For example, in the file inside the drawer. For example, in the digital file database inside a laptop. For example, it is in database in the server. So as such, because it has a location, so knowledge is somehow expert call it sticky. It is sticking. It is hard to move, or it is hard to transfer. It is hard to be taught. So because it has their own location. So that's why it is called it is more contextual. So maybe certain knowledge work on certain situation or in situation case. Okay. Last but not least, on knowledge management landscape is basically knowledge is situational, right? In other words, it is case by case. Some knowledge is important at certain time, at certain place, at certain discussion. Some knowledge is not important at certain time, at certain debate, or at certain meeting. So these are basically situational. So it depends case by case and time to time. So those are a few landscapes of important. Those are few landscapes of knowledge. Basically, yes, it is asset to the firm. Yeah, it has many forms, right? So it has its own respective location, and knowledge is very much useful or important on certain contexts, on certain time, situation, and also location. Okay, now let's take a look the managing knowledge perspectives in the overall sense. So if we need to manage knowledge, then we need to transform information into knowledge, right? So information is basically piece of data, right? So numbers, characters, or document, then it must be transformed into certain particular application, right? And that is why it becomes knowledge. And then companies must spare certain resources or budget, certain expenditure in order to find certain patterns or certain trend, rules, and in the context from the knowledge in order to make the knowledge works for the company, right? So from the knowledge, then we could generate wisdom. Wisdom is basically a collective or of individual experience. It is a collection of few employees' experience in order to solve problem, right? For example, like Xerox. Xerox is basically the producer of duplication machine to duplicate documents or to photocopy document, right? So in which it serves many customers around the world, including Malaysia. So in order to give excellent site or actual customer support, so engineers from Xerox must go to site of the customer in order to know what are their actual problem if they are using the machines or during photocopying, and what are the challenges, weaknesses, or the strength of their photocopying machine. So from there, only engineers at the site can generate new knowledge and also somehow create wisdom out of their experience. Okay, so in order to manage knowledge, so we must also know how to do things effectively and efficiently, so that it creates as a competitive advantage for your competitor, so that your company can perform better because you have this strength by managing your knowledge internally and externally. So as such, the company need to have some unique system in order to operate and run the company by using a specific system of managing their internal and external knowledge. One good company in managing knowledge, it is acknowledged worldwide, is Xerox Corporation. Xerox Corporation has this integrated system how to manage their knowledge in between the technician, the engineer, the manager, and the CEO, and they interact each other not only in the US and also around the world. They share knowledge as far as technical and troubleshooting with all their subsidiary branches all around the world. So I think let's take a look on the working system. How does the KMS knowledge management system work? And so that you can have a better understanding what is knowledge management system is all about in order to manage knowledge well within the organization in the form of company, namely Xerox.
Knowledge. It's our greatest asset. With every customer interaction, we learn. With every interaction, we get better and faster at solving our customers' technical problems. And with every interaction, we get closer to providing the best possible
This
customer
video is about
experience.
2 minutes plus, a short
Our
one.
new Xerox knowledge management
Let's
system is
absorb
going to evolve the
what
way
we
we
could
work,
learn from
make our jobs
Xerox
simpler,
knowledge
and
management system.
improve the ways we share our knowledge. We will have the ability to access a single global knowledge management system that provides solutions and shares knowledge with everyone across the globe. We'll be able to capture, manage, and share knowledge from every unique technical issue and use that information at every step of the customer experience. This is critically important because we value the technical skills and experience inherent in our people and will use it to benefit everyone. We'll also be able to fully integrate new tool sets and technologies to deliver knowledge in your channel of choice, when and how you need it. And it's going to be easy to use, so we can focus on what we do best, solving our customers' problems. Just imagine what this new Xerox knowledge management system will offer. A customer service engineer in San Francisco captures knowledge from an on-site visit and can immediately share his or her findings with colleagues across the globe, essentially solving once for many. But let's not stop there. The customer service engineer not only shares his information with his or her colleagues, but also with all levels of escalated support, as well as our engineering community, so we all get better at what we do. Where appropriate, we can move knowledge back to prior levels, our global contact centers, and even our customer online self-service website to enable even faster resolution. Not only will this allow us to respond to our customers in their time of need, but also incorporate what we learn into better product design from the start. Think about the power in that. It's a brand new knowledge-based world, and we've got everything to be excited about. World-class support, delivering productivity and efficiency for our customers. Welcome to the world of knowledge-centered support. Just another way that Xerox Connect Advantage Services is creating a better customer experience.
Okay, just now you have seen how does Xerox manage their knowledge internally and externally. How do they create a system? They call it KMS, Knowledge Management System, so that each troubleshooting or each learned experience by their field engineers or by their service engineer, for example, or servicing technician, they could share on the system, right? A tablet system or computer system, and later they upload to the server so that many other employee or service engineer at other places, if they want to solve that problem, actually they can learn from other people's success in solving the problem. So it is like solving once and later share with the rest of the world, so that the other service engineer, they do not have to troubleshoot or crack their head on the same problem. So it is like solving once for all, right? So that is how world-class company like Xerox manage their knowledge, by having a integrated knowledge management system. Okay, so let's see how does knowledge management system translates into organizational learning. Okay, in many management cases study, it is cited that Xerox and Panasonic, right, uh, among many organizations that practice knowledge management system. And to have that knowledge management system, so in order for the organization to learn, right, it is not only the employees or the engineers or the manager learn, but the organization itself in the form of the companies on the overall management also learn. So this is what they call organizational learning, or OL, in management studies, right? What does it mean? Okay, the organization must have process, right, so that they can learn, right? The company itself must have certain particular system or particular procedure or approaches so that they can gain experience, right? So the company can gain experience, and then through collection of data, right, and do measurement, and then trial and error, try to implement it, and then improve it, adjust it, enhance it, and later give feedback to the users. So this is at the organizational level, right? So it must collect those experiences, right, and then try to execute it. There is of course some challenges, and there are of course some problem, and then improve it, and later improve continuously in the form of feedback. So this is how actually organizational learning is being executed, right? So in the form of knowledge management itself, right, it is basically a set of business process developed in an organization to create, store, transfer, and apply knowledge of their employees, right? So they have four steps. First is, in order to manage the knowledge management value, all right, so it must start with knowledge acquisition, right? Knowledge from the experience of the service engineer at the site, like at San Francisco or in Malaysia. That knowledge must be acquired. Acquire means it must be transferred. It must be translated from the experience into a document, or into a video capturing, or into a certain written document. So this is what means acquisition. And after we acquire, capture, write, and get that information or knowledge, then we have to store it in the form of, like KMS at Xerox, they have a central database, right? They have a central system in order all users of technical support may use that central databases. Upon having databases or the storage, then the KMS must be able to disseminate in the form of network, in the form of fast access, in the form of devices, so that it can easily transfer new knowledge or newly found solution to some other people who have not yet found or stumbled into the problem to be solved. And upon dissemination, only knowledge can be applied, knowledge can be taken upon, knowledge can be taken advantage, and knowledge can solve other problems. So these are what has been practiced at Xerox, Panasonic, and Procter and Gamble, because they have knowledge management system in their organization. So it has been working for these organizations quite well. Okay, knowledge management value chain. First step is acquisition. All right. The first step is that, for example, like this service engineer is servicing this photocopying machine, right? For example, why this photocopying machine, the feeder roller got stuck or frequently got stuck. So she tries to solve it. So she must document this knowledge in the form of tacit and make it explicit. I mean, in the form of experience, and translate into a more readable document. And then this document must be in the form of reports. It could be presentation. It could be a video capture. It could be in the form of digital writing emails and so on. And sometimes it is unstructured. For example, in the form of written email from engineer to their manager, right? So, and it is being developed normally based on online expert network like KMS, right? So only by then knowledge can be created in which it is acquired based on experience. And then this knowledge must be tracked in terms of data from TPS, transaction processing system, if it were to be used for external resources, sharing with supplier, sharing with other business associate. Okay, knowledge management value chain. Second step is it must be stored in the form of database, right? Like a server, like a cloud computing platform, like in the Google Drive, or in any form of centralized database in the form of document management system, right? So one good knowledge storage database is as simple as YouTube. That is a good knowledge storage database, just for explanation. Okay, the third step to create knowledge management value chain is basically to have this dissemination or distribution or sharing. So it could be parked at the portals, and this portal could be accessed by many of the Xerox employees, right? The report emails that has been generated could be shared, and it could be integrated with a set engine, a certain collaborating tool. In that way, the experience of troubleshooting certain mistake or certain problem, it doesn't have to be experienced second time, third time by some other service engineer. So once is enough, and there you go. It is being shared in the form of perhaps a training session, maybe business informal meetings, business circle, right? So this is one way of doing it, enhance the knowledge management value chain. Last but not least, in the knowledge management value chains, the last step is knowledge application, in which this is where the knowledge that is derived, it is being applied. This is to provide good return on investment, in which only one service engineer experienced the problem, successfully solve the problem, settle the problem on site, and later it is becoming the system part of management decision, and it is a part of a support system to other branches or to other parts of the world within this same business operation. So these are four steps that make the KM value chain to operate effectively. Okay, this is how it works, right? Basically, it starts with acquisition, right, of the knowledge through knowledge discovery or troubleshooting, or through data mining. So creating the figuring out the trend, figuring out the I would say the layer of the problem using a neural network or genetic algorithm, in which later I explain. And after you do acquisition, then you store inside database. Normally, it is called DBMS or expert system, diagnosis system, health management system. So those are part of the storage, and later you share it, transfer it, disseminate via perhaps cloud platform, perhaps through portals, right, or search engine and other collaboration platform between groups, and the users will apply it in order to make decision or to solve the problem. And this process flow is not perfect, and of course it will stumble into a new problem or discover some other aspect of the operation and need to be improved as a feedback. And it is in the form of data information acquisition, and then it goes back to the loop. It is the new knowledge is being refined, new knowledge acquired, and so on. So this is basically a continuous loop or to have the knowledge management value chain that works successfully at Xerox Corporation. Okay, for the knowledge management landscape, so of course there are the organizational structure who manage the knowledge. For example, not only organization head got its CEO or the most important person within the organization, they also have officer who manage the knowledge. They call it chief knowledge officer, which is CKO, right? And some dedicated staff, particularly IT staff, I would say system engineer, programmer, and so on, so that they can share within the same circle, like the Xerox communities of practice, or perhaps Xerox could share with their business associates and also suppliers. So that those are communities of practice. Okay, there are basically three types of KMS. Okay, the first type is called enterprise-wide knowledge management system. It is a general purpose. It is quite broad, right? The purpose is just to collect information, data, store, distribute, and apply, right? It is a kind of very wide and also general type of knowledge sharing system. The second type of knowledge management system is very much more specific. It is a knowledge work system. Okay, it is about work. It is a specialized system built for certain users. For example, engineers, scientists, top management, in order to do their work better, faster, and more efficient. They call it KWS, knowledge work system. Right. And the third type of system, so this type 1 and type 2 is still basically system which is executed by Xerox, right? It is a general purpose and it is built by engineers, contribution by engineers and also technician for a system specific. For example, to troubleshoot certain technical problems, for example. So this first time and second time is matching for Xerox knowledge management system. Okay, the third type of KMS is known as intelligent techniques. So nowadays, they are known as AI, artificial intelligence, in which they have a thinking process. So they have a certain algorithm, they have a certain logical flow, so that a new knowledge can be discovered by this logic or by this algorithm. And that knowledge will be refined, will be enhanced, made better, right, in order to have a optimal solution. So application like Hadoop, right, by Apache. So those are a typical software that they use AI technique, right? So these are the three major types of knowledge management system that I have highlighted earlier. One is the general KMS, and this is the second one is a knowledge work system, right? The third one is intelligent techniques, right? Nowadays called big data management or big data analytic, right? So these are the three major types now exist in the whole operation of many companies around the world. Okay. A general purpose KMS in the form of like Xerox knowledge management system, knowledge work system. It could be in the form of like specialized workstation for example, forecasting, for optimization, or like system computer aided design software, 3D, I would say simulation. So investment, like in the Bursa Saham Kuala Lumpur software. So those are part of the knowledge work system. For big data management or big data analytic, it is very much embed the intelligent or artificial intelligence aspects to it. For example, it engage data mining, neural networks, right, fuzzy logic, and so on. So I will explain this more detail in my subsequent slide. First, let's take a look on the general KMS. For example, the system that I have highlighted you earlier in the video clip is Xerox. So basically, users on the site, they found new problem, they troubleshoot the problem, and they deposit their knowledge or their information or their experience into this, I would say, metadata. Metadata is basically, after the knowledge is being captured, it is tagged or it is indexed into certain category, right? For example, troubleshooting toner, right? Or troubleshooting electrical circuit, right? For error. So these are the tagging of the knowledge that has been deposited, right? And then it is stored and later taken back, retrieved. It must be managed, reviewed, refined, and it must be distributed. So it is all distributed within this unified repository or integrated database, right? All the documents, best practice, memo, experience, video, email, news. So all will be put in the central document like at Xerox Knowledge Management System. Okay, so enterprise content management system is basically within that system, they must develop the, I would say, taxonomy, category of knowledge, right? They call it metadata. So this metadata is basically a knowledge object, and it must be marked or tagged with certain category, right? If you read the book, of course, books got many category. For example, academic book, fiction, novel. So those are the metadata, or let's call it taxonomy, categories of information that is deposited into the database. Okay, for knowledge network system, so the system itself must provide the online directory for the corporate expert so that the users may easily find what kind of information or what kind of data they need to solve their working problem. Okay, here is how the general KMS system work. Basically, you are the user, all right? You are the user searching for troubleshooting error 102 type for Xerox photocopy machine, right? So you search for technical error 102. So you browse, you search this previous solution or previous experience, previous document in terms of files, procedure, emails, video, and so on. So when you search, right, of course, you got to also refer to a particular expert. For example, expert in electrical troubleshooting. For example, expert in mechanical problem, expert in terms of perhaps logistic. So these expert will be complemented by these best practices or previous experience so that you can find your answer, and your answer or experience can be shared with others. So you need to refer to certain expert to complement the database information that is centralized at the system. Okay. Okay, this is basically knowledge workers' job. Is basically it could be scientists, right? It could be designers, researchers. I would say engineers who create knowledge and new knowledge into the organization, and all these are deposited into the system. Okay, so requirement of a knowledge work system, right? Normally, you need a powerful computing processor for the centralized server, and because it involves like complex calculation, and that kind of new information must be communicated, right? And it must be user friendly for the user to use the system. There is a support, there is a FAQ, frequently asked question, there is a person, a hotline to contact if you need further assistance, and so on. So this is how the knowledge work system. Okay, this is the second system I'm discussing after KMS, right? This is what they call the KWS, right? So you have this software, for example, diagnostic system, right? For a car, right? So nowadays, modern automobile, normally when it got broken, when it has a technical glitch, if you go to, for example, to the car repair center, they will take a console or computer, plug into a particular port in the engine compartment. So they will analyze what are the symptoms and signals from the car, so that this software, right, like this simulation or modeling, can read back the accumulated data from the car, right, from the electronic processing system of the car, and they try to interpret what kind of problem the car is experiencing. And from this software, they also extract to other external knowledge database, for example, from the HQ of your technical support center for your car, for example, Toyota. So they try to match what kind of suggested solution in order to repair your car. So from that console, there is a technician or a foreman who are repairing your car, and this is basically hosted at the hardware platform for the knowledge workstation. So this is very specific system to solve very specific problem. Okay, example of knowledge work system, for example, like AutoCAD, right? Virtual reality system, you simulate certain thing. For example, logistic company, they want to chart which route is the best path for their trucks or for their ships, or even for their aeroplane to fly to carry cargoes, moving product from point A to point B. So they use a virtual reality system. That is part of KWS. Or you are a investor, you want to invest on a particular stock or particular company, you could use a KWS system like M Plus Online. So if you are an investor, right, traders that buy and sell stocks at the bourses. The third category of managing knowledge is by using the intelligent techniques. They call it big data management. All right. Nowadays, there are many approaches or software that you could use to create new knowledge or new value from your vast data. For example, from Twitter, right, from Instagram or from Facebook. All those raw data can be data mined, can be programmed in order to capture certain information. For example, today, what is the most important word or the most important topic discussed in Twitter in Malaysia? For example, it may be COVID-19, right? Or could be Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin, and so on. So AI technique in the form of software like Hadoop, or you can do programming at using a language like R programming. So you could capture knowledge from this tacit vast knowledge. That is what they call big data management. Or you could use other intelligent techniques, for example, expert system, as I explained earlier. This is an automobile fault diagnostic system in which the serviceman or technician using a particular software system set, and they plug in the port into a certain output port at the car, so that they can read back the data of the performance and later suggested what solution need to be done or fine tuning need to be adjusted for the car. So this is example of expert system. Okay, for these intelligent techniques, there are rules or there are logic to flow in order to execute this intelligent technique. For example, rules in expert system. This is one example for the banking, I believe, right? Because you want to apply a loan from the bank, for example, from step A to step B. So the bank or the system will ask the bank officer, and later they liaise with you as customer. So they want to know whether income, if you want to make a loan, right, for your house. So they will check your income, right? For example, to follow this logic, if your income is more than 50,000 per year, right? So then you may apply loan, right? If it is less than 50,000, then you are not entitled to apply the loan. So you exit. So step B to C, right? They will ask your car payment, monthly payment, right? If it is less than 10% of your income, right, monthly income, so then you can ask about the housing loan, right? Or else you exit. Okay, say your car payment income is less than 10% of your income, so you move to step C to D, right? So in this step, they will check it if your mortgage payment, right? If your the house loan that you want to apply is less than 20% of the income, right? So if it is less than 20% of your income, then you may get the credit or you can borrow the money from the bank, right? So after you granted credit line, so they will move from step D to E, right? So they ask about your number of years employed at the company, whether you are a senior in the company or you are a junior, right? If you are senior, right, more than 4 years, then you will get the loan for 10,000, right? So else go to G, all right? So here, so if you are a senior of the company that you're working for, then there is a limit which is 10,000, right? Okay, so then if it is less than 4 years, and then the bank or the system will ask the officer for the bank to check few other information, right? Because you are junior in the company, do you have any other loans, or do you have any personal loan or education loan and so on, right? If so, then go to H to back to F, all right? So if other debt is less than 5% of the income, and then you will get 10,000 loan, right? Or else limit only loan for 3,000. So all these are the logic, the flow or the algorithm for the banking, for the bankers or for the executive at the bank to follow through by using a software system in order to process your home loan application. So this is again one of the category of intelligent techniques. The other part of techniques is called case-based reasoning. It is case by case, right? So, for example, in a hospital, the doctor normally got to diagnose many patients, right? Many types of patient. It could be a cancer patient, or it could be a broken bone, or it could be perhaps health related to lung, or health problem related to heart and so on. So this is because the scope of the diagnostic is very broad for a human, right? Then they develop health diagnostic system. So from here, doctor or expert may use some of the system checking, so that doctor doesn't need to analyze every step by step every type of diseases. So for example, cancer patient, there are so many cases types of cancer. So of course, not one single doctor can interpret or can diagnose every type of cancer. So doctor must also rely on certain intelligent techniques, right, compared to previous cases, and try to get your input in order to diagnose whether what type of cancer you are, right, whether you are blood cancer or bone cancer and so on. So this is also one way of doctors solving their problem by using intelligent techniques, by having a logical flow, certain health diagnostic system in order to help doctors to make decision to give a proper treatment and medication for their patient. So that is another type of way of managing knowledge. Okay, perhaps you have heard of fuzzy logic, right? So fuzzy logic is based on discrete value of input, right? Basically, if it is a logical decision, it is either a yes or no. Like for 1 is yes, 0 means no. So it is very simple. But in our actual life, life is not as simple as that. Sometimes you have value to decide for certain range. For example, your thermostat for your perhaps aircon, right? So of course you cannot decide it is whether 1 or 0 only. For example, either switch whether aircon switch on or whether aircon switch off. So sometimes you have range for a medium temperature. For example, 22.8 until 25.3. So this is a range of value for example, being cold, right? So if it is at this setting, then it is mean medium temperature. So it is a range of value that is controlled by the processor in order to control the air conditioning or control the machine or control the thermostat. That is means fuzzy logic, right? One application of fuzzy logic normally, for example, like at your this washing machine, right? Or your autofocus camera, your smartphone. So those are application of intelligent techniques by using fuzzy logic. Okay, so this is how basically how fuzzy logic works for temperature control. Basically, the processor set the upper limit and lower limit. For example, from 50 degree Fahrenheit to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, it is treated as a cold, right? Cold, which is the graph from here, go cold, and then it goes to 70. For normal, right, it is at the range of 60 to 80. It is normal. Like for hot, it is perhaps 85 up to 100 is considered hot, right? So it is a range of value to be controlled by a processor. So it is an intelligent technique called fuzzy logic. Okay, the other intelligent techniques is known as neural networks, right? Neural networks is basically based on pattern and relationships, right? It is matching patterns, right? And how does neural network works? For example, neural networks for this kind of payment, right? So you have the first input layer, second input layer, and third input layer. So neural network help to verify that you are a good customer, right? In order to apply a credit card, for example. So the first input layer is age, income, purchase, frequency of purchase, and average of purchase, right? So these are all the input layers. And the next hidden layers is, are you using a digital payment system like Boost or Touch and Go system? So if you are, have the correct age level, your income is at a good intended level, your purchase is good, frequency of purchase is quite frequent, and you are using digital payment system, and you are a member of a particular kind of shopping outlet, then your purchase is valid, right? It is based on a combination of input layer of age and whether you use a digital payment system, whether you are a member, to decide whether your valid is purchased or you are qualified for a new credit card and so on. So it is a neural network based on combinations, right? Combination of layers. Right. The other type of intelligent technique is known genetic algorithm. Right. Genetic algorithm is basically based on inheritance and mutation and selection of particular logic. All right. So normally IT use genetic algorithm for example, producing better species that produce plants with high yield crops. For example, like for uh, production like grains, corn, and so on. So they use this kind of genetic algorithm, which is assisted by intelligence technique or logics, all right, based on an IT system. Okay, there are a few combination of hybrid AI system that combine genetic algorithm and fuzzy logic or neurofuzzy. So these are just added uh, general knowledge, right? And how does Procter and Gamble use intelligent system in order to manage their supply chain from supplier to retailer and to distributor? So also it may be able to use another intelligent techniques. Okay, so those are topics that I've covered for this managing knowledge. It is about 1 hour by now. I would like to thank you for following closely my lecture on this chapter 10, Managing Knowledge. Thank you for your attention and thank you again.